Hey everyone, it's Dexum, and lately I've been playing a game called Next Up Hero. And in this video, I'm going to put together a new player guide to help new players who might not know anything about the game, or new players who have just gotten into the game and they're having some trouble understanding what they're supposed to be doing and all the different features that they have, as well as some tips and tricks. So before we get into this, an important thing to know is that this game is in early access, so expect some of these things to change. That being said, I'm going to update you guys and update this video with newer versions as those changes become apparent. So to start, let's talk about what Next Up Hero is. Next Up Hero is a dual stick community action game. Now for those of you playing the game on PC, dual stick might seem a little strange to word it that way, but essentially what this means is that you can use one of your sticks to move on a controller and one of your analog sticks to aim. On the keyboard and mouse, you'd be using the mouse to aim, and you'd be using the WASD keys to move. When you start the game, you have several different options, and if you go into the controls option, they have a lot of different controller layouts that you can use. Right now, they don't let you map the buttons to the controllers if you would like to do that, which kind of made it tough to play on the Steam controller specifically, but they do give you a lot of different controller options as far as layouts go. After you load into the game, you'll have a short tutorial that you will play through. In the tutorial itself, you'll notice that you'll have both an easy mode and a normal mode. My recommendation would be to go with the easy mode. And the reasons behind this is really, once you get past this tutorial portion, the game really opens up and allows you to do a lot of different things. So really just move along on easy mode and get to the parts afterwards where the game really opens up. Once you've completed the tutorial, the first thing you'll want to do is select your character. Now I won't be getting too far into characters because I'm going to want to actually go through each character, talking about their pluses and minuses in subsequent videos. And as I mentioned before, this is early access, and I've already been told that several of the characters are going to be tweaked and changed, so I don't want to get into them right now. So let's explain the character select screen a little bit. If you're a new player, you'll notice that every character has 3 abilities shown. But if you're playing, you may notice that you can't use that third ability. You can unlock that ability by buying the upgraded skin for each character. Once you unlock that third ability, which is called the Prestige ability, you can utilize that in place of your Dash ability, as it utilizes the same cooldown. So once you've selected which character you'd like to play, you'll notice that you have a few options, including the abilities, the ancients, and your profile as well. And you'll also notice there's a number of different stats, such as HP, attack, speed, and defense. As you can imagine, the ranged characters have a lower defense, but that's mainly because they can attack from range. They also have lower HP. Melee characters predominantly have high HP, higher defense, and sometimes you can find some with higher speed and attack as well. But of course, for most melee characters, you don't get the benefits of attacking at range. Let's pop into the abilities tab. For the abilities, you can see that there are a lot of different abilities to choose from, and some of them seem kinda similar, and they really are. For example, you'll notice on this first ability, Stun, there's also an advanced Stun. On Spike Trap, there's also an advanced Spike Trap. What the advanced versions do is they'll proc more often than their original versions. So for example, at level 2, my Spike Trap has 5% chance to deploy a Spike Trap at my feet when attacking. The advanced Spike Trap gives me a 15% chance, so it starts at a much higher rate than the Spike Trap. You unlock and upgrade each of these abilities by going out and killing enemies and collecting tokens. Each enemy will drop a token that will unlock their special abilities. You'll also be defeating rare and mini boss enemies and boss enemies too, and they'll drop chests that will reward you with artifacts. And you can select those artifacts in the Ancients menu. So here we are in the Ancients menu. You'll notice that there are several different Ancients, and as you went through the tutorial, you may notice that they showed you how to use your Ancient. In this screen, you can select which Ancients you need, and it'll tell you how many echoes you need in order to summon that Ancient. On the next tab, you'll notice that it has artifacts. Artifacts don't take any echoes to activate, but you do need to make sure that you're activating them when you zone into the level for the first time, or you can activate them as needed. Once you use an artifact, it's consumed, so make sure you're using them when you really need them. Lastly, let's head on over to the Profile tab. In the Profile tab, you'll notice that there's an option to set a challenge. Setting a challenge is extremely simple, such as quickly collecting a few token prestige, or quickly defeating a few small enemies. and as long as you meet those requirements, you'll get a reward at the end of your next level. So after you selected your character, you'll be placed into the venture screen. This gives you the option to view several different kinds of ventures: easy ventures, normal ventures, hard ventures, featured ventures, my ventures, insane ventures, and the champion's trial. You'll also see in the top left-hand corner how many prestige tokens you have, as well as how many grand tokens you have. Grand tokens are required to enter the champion's trial. The champion's trial unlocks at level 13, but it is not currently released for the early access. As you level up, you'll be able to get into the hard and insane ventures, and insane ventures can only be created by pushing a hard venture past level 40. However, you are still able to create ventures by clicking N for new venture, hitting X on an Xbox controller, or square on a PS4 controller. The new venture screen will allow you to choose the length of each level, the difficulty of each level, and the region of each level. It'll also allow you to choose the amount of prestige you want to put in that will boost the rate of a rare enemy appearance. Also, when a venture has been completed that you were a part of, you'll notice that there will be a rewards icon on your nameplate. To access it, just press start on a controller or click it with your mouse and accept whatever rewards you've earned. For featured ventures, you'll also see on the left-hand side the daily leaderboards on prestige collected and enemy kills. You'll also be able to see some featured ventures as well. Finally, when you're on your venture screen, here are some handy tooltips that'll tell you what you're looking at. At the top, you'll see how long the venture has been active, and also how long until it expires if nobody plays it. The stars will indicate what level difficulty you're playing, and the little people on the right-hand side will tell you how many players have fallen in battle and how many echoes are there for you to pick up whenever you play. At the bottom, you'll find out how many levels are available for that specific venture, how far you have gone if you've played it, how far the community has progressed, and the current remaining health of a boss, if they've gotten to the boss and if they've fought them. At the bottom, it will display statistics about the current venture. The last thing you really need to know about selecting a venture are the level setting types. The 3 setting types are fire, forest, and tundra. Depending on which level setting you have will depend on what type of damage enemies will do to you. The easiest by far is the tundra, because the ice damage doesn't actually do any damage to you, it just slows your character. Both the forest and the fire levels will do damage over time if you get hit. Now let's migrate into the last portion of the new player guide and talk about combat. I mentioned briefly that combat has a lot of nuances to it in Next Up Hero, and I'm going to get into it in length in other videos. Right now, we're just going to get you the basics, what to look for, and how to survive. Let's begin with the very basics when you enter a venture. At the start of every level of every venture, you're going to get an objective. Pay attention to these objectives. If you forget what the objective is, you can press the start button and it will remind you what it is. Objectives can range anywhere from killing enough monsters to avoiding falling rocks or hunting a bounty. It's important to note, pay attention to what you're supposed to be doing. If your job is to just kill a bounty, you'll be much better off in many cases killing that bounty and moving on to the next level than staying and trying to kill every enemy on that level. What you want to do is get to the community checkpoints, which happens to be every 5 levels or so, which means if you die there, the community will start at that checkpoint. Making sure you hit those checkpoints is really what makes you a hero. Next, remember to pick up the echoes. Not only will they help you in battle, but you need those echoes to activate your ancients. On the top right-hand side of the screen, you'll see what ancients are available to you if you have enough echoes acquired. Don't forget, depending on your controller layout, you can scroll through the ancients you want to use and use them at will. Or if you're using artifacts, you can scroll through and use your artifacts only or your ancients depending on what you want to do. We also touched on your dash ability a little bit. While you're dashing, you negate all damage. This is important if you find yourself cornered. Remember to plan out your dash so that you dash and get completely out of harm's way. Don't dash into a group of enemies and end up getting stuck there and getting hurt more. Also, don't forget to use focus mode. Focus mode allows you to move and attack at the same time, albeit at a slower movement speed. You can use focus mode on the keyboard by holding shift or on a controller by using the right analog stick. Make sure you're using and practicing combat with focus mode, as well as moving in and out of focus mode, as you do move substantially faster without it. The last thing to touch on is once you hit level 4, you'll have the ability to hop in and do a little bit of co-op as an Echo. To do this is very simple. All you have to do is find a game that someone's already in, watch the game, and when they pick up an Echo, you can choose to either heal them or to help them as an Echo. Some notable enemy types that you might be questioning yourself on would be the Spiker. The Spiker drops little spikes on the ground, and sometimes they're very hard to see. When I first played the game, I was on my laptop and I couldn't see the spikes that they dropped at all on such a tiny screen, and it was very frustrating. I circled the Spiker traps on this video. Another enemy that I hear people have a lot of trouble with is Frenzy. The problem with Frenzy is that they can appear out of nowhere by teleporting to you or behind you, and in some cases, they'll even teleport on top of you, automatically stunning you. Changes to Frenzy may or may not be in the works, but there are 2 simple tricks to beating Frenzy. You can use a character's prestige ability, which most prestige abilities will work pretty good on Frenzy. Or, if you don't have a prestige ability yet because you're a new player, work on getting enough distance away from Frenzy to where he's not teleporting around you. Once you get far enough away, rush in and attack him. Repeat as many times as necessary until he's dead. And there we have it. We've touched on all the basics for Next Up Hero. If you guys have any questions, or if there's a specific video that you'd like to see, feel free to leave it in the comments and I'll get to work on it. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys try out Next Up Hero. I'll see you guys in game.